Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. If we got to this point, that means it's a real war between Zelensky and Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev. That's been in the public's eye for, I would say, at least 1 year, if not even before the war. What happens? We have the Ukrainian mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, the former heavyweight champion. And you have Zelensky in charge of the government of Ukraine. And it seems like Mr. Zelensky has a little problem with publicity. There is a popularity contest among people in Ukraine. That was a video that I made a while ago showing how Zelensky, actually it was an article written by the Ukrainians, where they said that Zelensky seemed to have stepped a little bit too far in being more popular than Zelensky. Therefore, Zelensky jumped on him when Zelensky was interviewed regarding an issue, if you remember. I made a video, I don't know, about a year ago. I think it was about June last year, when Zelensky said, well, for a counteroffensive, I need about 300 to 500 tanks. That was bad, out. Now it's Klitschko's turn. If you remember Klitschko, and I made this video then on, actually it was on June 2nd, 2023, and it was titled, Does Zelensky want to eliminate Ukrainian Klitschko after hitting Klitschko in an internal, hinting Klitschko in an internal enemy. So, this is a video that I made when Klitschko, he being the mayor, somehow was responsible for a shelter being closed, locked, and unfortunately some people lost their lives. I think a mother with 2 children trying to access that because someone did not open the door or something like this from inside. And Zelensky got that occasion to say, well, I'm going to knock you out. That's exactly what you said, a little bit in a different context. I will have this article up for you. I'm just going to give you some context so you understand that Klitschko right now comes out jabbing. Okay, jabbing and then straight. So let's go and see. This was the article from Ukrainska Pravda, and this was on June 1st, 2023. And this is the title, and I'm quoting, There may be a knockout. Zelensky comments on closed shelter in Kiev. So what happened? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has hinted on unpleasant consequences for Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko. If it is continued, the people died, whatever that it was. So let's see what Zelensky said. Everyone will be responsible, including you? I don't think so. The reaction will be firm. Russia as the enemy is not enough for us. We have internal enemies as well. That's referring to Klitschko. I would say, and I'm quoting, who will be held accountable, but there are many journalists here. I would say there is a word, it is on the tip of my tongue, but I can't say it. And later he said, right here, I'm quoting again, I would say this, there may be a knockout. So thereafter, Zelensky seemed to have completed his answer, and his spokesman began to announce the end of the press conference. And then suddenly, the president turned to the journalists and added, and I'm quoting, I would say this, there may be a knockout. And a lot of people say, well, that's directed to Klitschko. Now, what happened now in this article that I have right here? Coming from Ukrainska Pravda. The Ukrainian Klitschko is going to fight the president of Russia, Jesus Christ, Ukraine, right here. So, this guy against this guy. Kiev mayor claims, and I'm quoting, central government is putting pressure on him. Who's central government? I mean, if you look at this article that's here, I don't think it's clear, or at least we can, draw the conclusion that it's those guys or that guy. Kiev mayor Vitaly Klitschko has said that the capital's administration and Klitschko personally are experiencing political pressure. You imagine that if this guy or one of his departments comes and say, well, we have some collaborators. We have some traitors, as he said right here. Enemies is not enough for us. We have internal enemies. And then he says, knockout. And I'm not an idiot here. Sometimes I might be, but not here. What do you think is here? If this guy wants, he's gonna get this guy yesterday. If this guy wants, he can't take this guy out. I mean, like legally or whatever you want to call it. This guy's in control. And it seems like this guy is against the Ukrainian Klitschko. So it says that personally are experiencing political pressure and intimated that it was the central government that was exerting this pressure. Now, how do you think this Ukrainska Pravda is on whose side? Kiev mayor claims, all right, and then he says here, and intimated that it was the central government that was exerting this pleasure, a pleasure to be pressure. A source, Vitaly Klitschko on Telegram, and I'm quoting Klitschko. There is a fierce campaign to discredit the Kiev city government and me personally. By whom? By the Russians? By the Americans? By whom? By the mass media? Or by whom? Ukrainian mass media? Ukrainian mass media is not Kiev's mass media. Relentless searches paralyze the work of city administration departments and services. Chaos is being introduced into the capital's wartime management, and critical infrastructure facilities are not able to keep up with their normal workload. The same documents are being requested again and again. This guy right here, he said he's going to start an investigation on this guy right here. And I think this is what he's talking about. This guy wants to get him somehow legally first. And then this is my conclusion. I might be very wrong. I'm just giving you the information, these two articles, and you make your own mind, and maybe you have more information to complete the picture. I'm still quoting Klitschko. They are trying their best to ruin Klitschko's reputation, but they won't be able to find anything against me. Do you see that? They don't have to find anything, Klitschko. This is the way life works. They say that you are accused, or there's suspicion that you work for the Russians. That's all they need. And they're gonna get you. They're gonna get a judge to sign a little warrant, arrest warrant, and you're gonna be taken. And then the Gulag is gonna see you boxing some rocks. So they are handing suspicion notices to my subordinates and loudly accusing them of being guilty. But when those cases crumble in court, we won't be offered any apologies. You will be taken by the collar right here, by that one with the right hand, and drawn into a dungeon. You'll see that. Maybe, I hope not. Klitschko mentioned the arrest of Roman Tsakchuk, director of the Municipal Security Department of Kiev's City State Administration, suspected of gross negligence that entailed grave consequences. So he was already arrested, this guy. The Kiev mayor said he was outraged with Tsakchuk's arrest, particularly given the fact that, and I'm quoting, not a single district head in Kiev responsible for setting up shelters and in charge of allocating and disbursing government funds has been affected. End quote. Klitschko stressed that district heads are accountable to the central government rather than Klitschko himself and the city administration. It means you don't have jurisdiction, it seems like. And asked, and I'm quoting, so how can we be talking about objectivity and the absence of political motives in pursuing charges against the Klitschko administration officials rather than officials accountable to the central government? Question mark. However, this is where Ukrainska Pravda attacks him. However, Klitschko did not clarify who he thought was responsible for recent political intimidation against him. So here it was intimidation, not intimated. Pressure and I don't know if that word means intimidation, but in my English I don't understand the word. Anyway, quote from Klitschko. Someone wants to establish control over the capital once again. Have we already won in the war against Russia? Is Klitschko now Ukraine's biggest problem? We have internal enemies as well. Okay, yes, you are a problem. So again, here's they talk about what's going on here with a little background information. So what do you think? I think that guy wants to get the Ukrainian mayor. What do you think? And there's only one problem here. The problem is that Klitschko is too well known. That's the only problem. And I think that if Klitschko will be taken by his left side collar, someone with the right hand, and taken, arrested, and then interrogated, and then who knows what, there will be some people in the West, friends of his and his brother, and many others, they would probably ask the Ukrainian president what's going on. Or maybe the Ukrainian president is going to come and the last, hey, I'm going to make peace here, you know what? Whoever is after Klitschko is my man. So he's going to appear like he's the savior of Klitschko. That's the style. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, you know exactly that's the style. They create a problem and then they show up as being we save him. You didn't save shit. You were the one who initiated. So yes, Klitschko seems to be desperate if he says that on Telegram and so on. And I make a video on them. Internal fight will start, and I think it's a popularity contest. And I thought at one point, and it's not the end of it, that Zelensky might break away from the orders from someone else, or maybe units in the Ukrainian military will just break away. We're gonna have a civil war over there, or maybe the guys around protecting Zelensky from others, which I think they protect others from Zelensky, or they make sure that Zelensky is gonna be parroting what he's supposed to. Yes, and more money. If not, it's your fault. This kind of things. I think those guys could take care of him, taking him somewhere and give him some food and shelter and water, and then he's going to retire in Tahiti. If you know, things like this happened before. In all our history, just read how the kings in our medieval times, and not only, were hiring around them mercenaries, not people from their own nation. I don't know the guys around him, who they sworn allegiance to. I don't know. Not even the President of the United States knows those secret services who they listen to in their earpiece right here. It's not Biden telling them, hey, it's going to be someone who's going to say, this is an asset, needs to be, relocated. Bam, zip, out. What do you think? They're going to say, wait, excuse me, are you sure this is the President of the United States of America? Are you sure? How do you get the information? Well, it's very, do you think that's the way it's going to do? He's a machine. He's a machine. He's going to be like, all right, grab, pop. Actually, this guy just have to get him like this. Pick, get him, throw him in a little van and out with him to safety. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.